Welcome to the Smarter Leadership Podcast, where we explore the power of leadership, from overcoming challenges to shaping cultures and building a lasting legacy. Through inspiring stories and insights from our guests, we'll share transformative lessons to help you thrive in today's interconnected world. I'm Tucci Ivowi. Join us for conversations that will inspire thought and action. Pascal Gally is the CEO and founder of Choc Des Legendes, a prominent event celebrating eloquence through debate in the form of a trial. Pascal is a dynamic legal counsel and compliance officer with over a decade of experience across multinationals, law firms and consulting firms in Paris, Geneva and Zurich. He specializes in providing strategic advice for scaling businesses and attracting investments, particularly in Africa. He's also a highly sought-after public speaking coach, mentoring political, business, and legal leaders to refine their communication skills. A passionate advocate for women's empowerment, Pascal serves as a senior advisor to women in Africa. So, Pascal, I know you to be such a dynamic personality. Every time I see you or hear from you, you're working on different things. So I think I'd like to start right there. Maybe just tell us what you do and, really share.
I will start to say that I'm enthusiastic. I have different life. In one of them, I'm a compliance officer. So I manage investigation. I'm like a cop in a company for a Swiss multinational. So I'm following up on investigation, on fraud, on corruption, theft. That's one of the thing I'm doing, even if most of people are not aware of it.
You say that's your kind of day job.
That's my day-to-day job. I would say maybe the less interesting, at least for people. And beside that, I have other commitments. One of them that is close to my heart is eloquence and art and culture, which we'll speak about, I assume.
Yes.
Is the Choc Des Legendes festival. Another commitment, I will say, is the women empowerment, women's right, women commitment.
Okay.
That's something that is very close to my heart. And aside of that, I make strategic advice to governments, to companies, as well as public speaking training or mentoring for some senior stakeholders.
So, you started by talking about, the compliance role you have. I know that, you're a legal counsel. This is your profession, your background. And I'm mentioning that because I really want to spend some time talking about this program that you developed called Choc Des Legendes. And, when we talk, we understand that, you do this, it's like a public debate in the form of a trial. And then I guess your legal background has played a big role in that. So I want to, to tell me about it. Why did you start this? Where was the idea coming from? Where is the passion for it coming from? Even you can go as far back as, when you were young, and what led you down this kind of legal path and how you've kind of brought it to bear in this wonderful program that you've established today.
Thank you so much. So I will say that since I'm a young boy, I like to debate.
Okay.
I always like to debate and to argue with the people, even when I was not right. So it always started like this. And my dad was a lawyer as well. I think it helped. So we had a lot of debates at home, always discussing on topic, politics, economy, social science, everything, actually. So we were quite open, I would say, in the family. We could say everything, even if we were wrong. Sometimes we were right. So that was, I would say, a good ecosystem to nurture that spirit of dialectic and critique and debate. And then I got in Paris University at Sorbonne. I studied law. And I was always interested in engaging with people, debating with them. And I had a chance to meet two exceptional people, two lawyers. One of them is Swiss. His name is Marc Bonan. He's known as the world's greatest speaker in French. He's extremely eloquent. He speaks Greek, Italian, French. He has read, I think, 5,000 books or something.
Wow.
So he's really a genius. And so I've met him. And the other is Christian Bonazel, which is a former president of Paris Bar as well, a very eloquent and smart lawyer too. So the two became my mentor, kind of. And I wanted to do something for them, something to thank them. And so I decided to create a Choc Des Legendes.
Okay.
Because they are the two legends where I created this program to say thank you. So it was an act, I would say, of love to start
nice.
with. And then, of course, it was also to the pleasure of debate, to have, I would say, discussion that maybe will be tough to have in the normal life, but in the form of a mock trial that make more sense, and then people are much more open to it.
Yeah, open, free to share whatever views, knowing that it's really a mock trial, you're playing a role. And I think if my French is good enough, Choc Des Legendes is like clash of the legends.
Absolutely.
So it's like coming together to debate, to have this fiery conversation. So when did it start, and how is it going now?
It started, I think it's 2018 or 17. I think it's 18. So the first edition was at the French National Assembly, and the question was, who from humans or God is the most happy? And it was improvisation, so no one knew
the topic.
No, right. I gave the topic like a few minutes before the event, which was quite funny, at least for me, a bit less for the speakers. And so it started like this, and then the second one was the trial of God.
Okay, the trial of God.
The trial of God, which is my favorite. And this one was quite a special event. Very tough to organize, because I think people didn't understood at the beginning what was the aim of that event, and so a lot of pressure, a lot of insult on the social medias, and
the topic is it's hot. It can be controversial. It can be.
It is. It's extremely controversial, and people were asking the president of the Sorbonne. It was at Sorbonne University in a Richelieu amphitheater, 600 people. To cancel the event, and say no, we cannot make the trial of God. How is that possible? There are some people that believe. I'm myself a believer, and the point was not to judge God. It was actually more to have a reflection of what God is, what is not. It was, in a way, the trial of humans, actually. So a lot of pressure to shut down the event, but we resisted, and so the event took place, and there was some physician, lawyers, there was even a monk, some political leaders were there as well, some CEOs.
Okay.
So that was the second edition.
So in the end it was successful, it went well.
It went well, and at the end of the event, the monk was there by chance. He told me that he would not have come if he didn't knew me.
Okay.
Because he's a monk of one of the eldest monastery in France, Monastery de Ligugé, which was founded in the 4th century, I think. So he came, and when I saw him, I asked him to be part of the jury.
Yeah.
And at the end of the event, he said to me that this was a kairos, which means that God was there. So it was, in my view, I think, a good event, because people had a doubt. Because to put it in perspective, we are in Paris, in France. Most people that attended are probably atheists.
Okay.
They didn't believe in God. Of course, there were people that were believers as well, but most of the people were non-believer.
I see.
And at the end of the event, when I see their eyes, I could feel like there was a doubt, like if, and that was the point of the event, just to
make you question.
To make you question. To make you question.
Not just take things at surface level, but to think deeper and.
Exactly, to challenge yourself. There is always a good reason to ask yourself. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. But I think we should never be too convinced that we are always right. Because sometimes we're not, and it's always good to challenge your vision on that. And so the third edition, it was in French National Assembly again, and it was with the president of Ghana, which made me the honor to come for this event. It was the first time that we had a foreign president in exercise that come for an event in French National Assembly. And this one was the trial of progress.
The trial of progress.
Just after COVID. So it was just on time. The trial of progress. What has the progress did to humanity? Is it fruitful? Is it not? And so we reflected. There were geneticians that were there, astrophysicians, physicians, archaeologists, lawyers, of course, doctors, and we had a global reflection to discuss what has the progress brought to humanity, but also what has the progress take away take away from humanity.
Okay, wonderful. And I mean, I'm so excited talking about this because, I was privileged to have been invited by you to one of the editions that took place in Ghana. I think, is that the first one you did in Africa?
Exactly.
In an African
country?
That's
the fourth one.
Okay.
It was in praise of women. And thank you again for attending the
It was
grand
such
jury.
a wonderful, I think everyone who was there said this was refreshing. It was a different event. Like you said, it made you think. It was not your typical, public speaking event or event platform. It was really, really refreshing. And when you have to take a position that is not necessarily your own, but argue out the points, it's intellectual as well. It makes you think. And I've always loved debating. I mean, as a child, I would debate anything and everything. In fact, I would have a contrary view, even if I didn't believe it, just to be able to
You're just
have this.
You're just like a lawyer.
I love a debate. Yes, this is why I have some kind of passion for law. I share that. I love law novels and things like that. But yes, it was so well organized. I mean, from the organization to the content to the kind of speakers you were able to bring on board and to the arguments that were made. It was convincing. If you didn't know better, you'd think. And so I think that was really rich. So picking on that last point I made about the kind of people you were able to bring together to this platform, you're clearly very good at connecting with people and networking. So I want you to share, what are your skills, or, what do you employ? Is it just because you're such a nice person that people are ready to come and be on your platforms? What is it you do to get people to...
That's a very good question. I think I just love people. It really seems like a simple answer, but the truth is, when I love someone, I really love the people. I like them for what they are. So when I create bond with people, it's always very deep, very intense, because I'm there for what they are, and who they are, not what they have. Of course, sometimes you have title, you have position, you have money, you have power, but behind all of that, there is a human, there is a soul. And I think, maybe a bit naively, but when people really seize or feel that you like them for what they are and not just for what they have, I think they trust you. They give you, and this event, the last one that you make me the honor to come, I've put it in 3 months, which even for me was very tough to organize because I had a lot of other things going on. But it's because the people made me this friendship, this trust. So I will call some CEOs and say, I have my event in 2 or 3 weeks. Can you please come?
Make it?
And they will just book their flight, change the schedule, and fly from Switzerland to Ghana. And this is only possible when people like you. And so my advice, if I have to give any in that regard, it's not about making connection. It's about making a relationship.
Okay.
A long-standing relationship. When I meet people, I always try to keep them in my life. I will not say forever, but for a long term.
Try to nurture the relationships.
Exactly. Sometimes we just come and say, okay, I need this person for this, and then when it's done, we forget, and then we try to come back afterward. And this is where it's already tainted. It's not. Of course, there is always an interest. There is always an interest, but the higher interest should be in the person. That the person knows that whatever, if I don't have that position anymore, if I have that issue, she will still be there for me. I think when you reach that level, then people will open doors to you that are just invincible.
It's really wonderful. I mean, people, it's a currency, and it's something which it is difficult to quantify, but it's something that is so valuable, and you just...
infinite.
Yeah, you can't get it from anywhere. So this ability to nurture relationships, to really form these close bonds with people must have come from somewhere. What do you think have been your influences throughout your life?
I think it's come from my mom.
Okay.
My mom is someone who is very, very genuine, very generous, very open-minded. And she's reached out to people, of all the level. You can see my mom the morning, discussing with the people, the ladies that are coming from the market and selling stuff in the street. Maybe later in the day she will be speaking with the president at some event, but with the same kindness, with the same. She will always tell to me that we're all humans. And when you truly understand that, it doesn't matter if someone is a CEO, a billionaire, a minister, or a president, or just a regular person who's selling food or banku in the street. Of course, when there is a president or a minister, you need to have some regards that maybe you will not have the same, but to the value, it should be the same. And when we were children, my mom and dad, they will brought us to the village. That's something that they did. So they will let us, with at the village with some people and say, we'll come take you back in a few days.
Okay.
So we were really with the people. And this made us think very natural wherever we are. It's not like, oh, we don't want to be there. We cannot be. We don't have that kind
You're
of
at home
complex.
wherever you are.
Yes. Wherever I am, I feel home.
Okay.
Whether it's in a beautiful palace or in a drink, having a drink in a small bistro or bar, for me it doesn't change that much. Okay. So I think it comes from my mom, this ability to love and to see the people for what they are, for what they have to offer in terms of love, of values, and of course of my dad as well, who is a different kind of love. I would say my mom, actually, she loves everyone.
Right.
It's a bit the love agape. My dad, he had this ability to really to bring exceptional people together. He was also a very simple person, but I think he always told me that you need to be the best. For me, it's important to love people, but it's also important to be worth of the people that you love.
Okay. So you have quite a diverse and multicultural background. You're Togolese, German, you live in Switzerland. How has that impacted your outlook on life and your work and your relationships?
I think today when I reflect back and I see, I think it's a huge wealth. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I engage with people that maybe didn't have the chance to travel or didn't have the chance to have a multicultural background, I can see that sometimes we don't have the same scope or the same perspective. Because as you said, my mom is German, my grandmother is German, my dad is Togolese, I have other roots from other countries. But having been nurtured and living in those two worlds, two education, values, it has brought me another way of seeing the world. When my grandmother, the mom of my mom, is telling me how she survived the Second World War, how they were starving, how she lost a brother, how was Germany at the time, the suffering. It changed your life when you have that way of the perspective. And in the same way, when your older grandmother is telling you about the Togo, the customs, what happens maybe before the colonization as well, before the independence. So this is two different visions of the world. And when you reconcile it in a way, I think it gives you kind of superpowers, because there is so much wealth in every language, in every culture, even in the language, the way you speak, how you think, how you speak. So when you have the chance, for example, to speak an African local language, it's a vision of the world by itself. In Ewe, for example, how you say human being, it's agbeto. And agbeto means the one who owns the life. Okay. It's beautiful. It is. When you think about it. Yes, so it's in the language itself. Yeah. There is a praise of the human, of the life. So it's.
I'm half Ewe. I mean, my dad is an Ewe, and the names, I mean, are just so rich in meaning.
Exactly, they're powerful.
Powerful.
They are powerful names. So that's. I think it brought me a lot to have the chance to understand maybe what is tough to understand for someone who is maybe just Togolese or someone who's just German. It opens your perspective. It also has its challenges. to be honest, because you're seen as you don't, as you're mixed, you don't fully belong to any. So for some people, you're like, when you're in Togo, say, oh, you're a foreigner, you're white. And when you are in France or in Germany, well, okay, you're a foreigner, you're Togolese, you're black. So it's tough for us people that are mixed to really fit in. I mean, for me, it was not that much an issue because I always get my way through. I don't really mind of what the people were thinking. I just try to make good friends and to love the people. But I see it also as it's a wealth, but it's also a challenge.
And you, we talked about the Africa side and some of the things that the richness, some of the things that you've appreciated. And I know that you've been doing a lot of work to kind of promote Africa, business in Africa. You seem to have a passion for that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is this drive coming from the fact that it's your heritage? Is it because you're seeing the opportunities and you want to share it with those outside? And what do you really see as opportunities for people both within Africa and from without?
I feel in depth spiritually.
Okay.
For Africa, I'm born in Togo, and I always try to do to my best extent what I can do for the future of Africa. I'm a very optimistic, but also sometimes very pessimistic, which sounds awkward to say, but I'm optimistic in the way that I hope the best for Africa, that we are the best continent in the following decades or generation because we have everything to get there. I'm also sometimes very sad because I see that the speed where we should be growing, it's not there yet. So when I had the opportunity to bring some investors, trying to scale up some businesses, I tried to do it. I don't think we lack that much in Africa. I say Africa, but there is a lot of countries, but in African countries, I think there are two things maybe. First is the mindset.
Okay.
We have an issue with the mindset because most or a lot of us believe it's not possible. And when something you believe it's not possible, then you won't do it. Because even if you had the skills to do it, you believe it's not. It's just like when you're sick and someone tells you want to heal, then of course you will not heal, or at least not so quick. And so I think that's first the biggest barrier. It's in our minds. And then after it's the eager to be willing to do something more. I think we should always be, even if it's great, it's never perfect in any countries, whether in Africa or outside. So you can always do more. In terms of opportunities for the continent, I think there is so many. There is agriculture, that's a real topic. And technology, there is huge opportunities there. In Ghana, in Nigeria, you see people that are so skilled, so smart. And so I think, for me, the keyword is scale up.
It's about scaling up. And I think, one of the things that you're good at is, I mentioned it before, and you talked about forming bonds rather than just connecting. So I use connections in a different way. You're good at connecting people to one another. And then, them finding springboards for these opportunities. So, yeah, I think the continent is rich. There's so much to be done, and getting people to come from all over the world, bringing that array of diversity in is what's going to help us to scale and to grow faster. So I think this is a good thing. For your program, Choc Des Legendes, do you see it moving to other parts of Africa as well?
So the first,
because this is actually, platforms like that also upskill dialogue generally. So, yeah.
No, I think that's definitely the plan. Maybe this year I will do it in Togo, my homeland.
Oh, maybe I'll take a drive
of
down.
Of course, I'll wait for you there.
Come and enjoy
bring the whole Ghana.
Enjoy the trial,
Togo.
definitely.
Yeah, it's not so far.
Yes, it's not.
And that's to connect with what you just said. Togo is just nearby to Ghana. And I'm speaking with a lot of Ghanaian people because Ghana is like my second land, hometown. And a lot of people never been to Togo. I mean, really being there, not just crossing the border. And of course, I'm sad because I'm Togolese, but if I go beyond that, I can understand that it's the language, etc. But it means that the level of opportunity we are missing, it's huge. Because if two people that are just having the same borders, Lomé is 3 hours from Accra in car, it's nothing. Are not connecting, are not making. Of course, people are doing a lot of business across the border. That's not the point. But a lot of the people are meeting there. They don't do anything in Togo, and likewise. And I think this is where there is so many opportunities when you see it at the continent scale. I think our elders, our parents, the point was to come back in their country. I think African diaspora, the point should be coming back to Africa. Doesn't matter if it's your country or not. If it's a country, it's good. But if it's not, it's fine. You know, I'm from Togo. I organized my first event in Ghana, and I'm proud of it. And I think that's how we should reflect. Of course, I will do an event someday in Togo too. But it can be in Rwanda, it can be in Kenya, in Congo,
I fully agree. I think individual African countries will grow in so much as Africa as a continent is growing and developing. If one country develops, I think there's a limit. But if we use our resources, everything, bring it together, the continent just has so much to offer and can be on a par with other
and speaking of the Choc des Legendes, the aim is really what you said, is to create a community, not an ecosystem of leaders of tomorrow, whatever the industry, whatever the nationality, whatever the religion, whatever the background, just people who have one passion to scale up Africa, to do best, to be the greatest. And I think this is something we miss at the moment. We have people that excel in their own country, but we don't have initiative, not that much initiative that are Pan-African, because it's tough, to go in another country. Sometimes the language is different. For me, coming in Ghana was not so obvious because I used to do my event in French. My community is French. I mean, I have also English speakers, but most of them were French. But this has been one of the most fruitful move I've made because I've met new people, and I think this is where we should go. We should not be kind of lazy. We should, when it's tough, this is where there is value. This is where there is money, and this is where there are opportunities. So this is really the plan. This year Togo,
lovely.
Next year I don't know.
We don't know, but
wherever the people are happy to host me. I will come, and the point is that we can really create a community of people like you that just love Africa, want to bring their skill on the table, and the opportunities are always like this. When you meet people, you find out things that you will never believe that was possible.
Exactly.
And out of the blue,
something is born, and
something is born.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's the real power of network. Is to meeting amazing people, which are sometimes not the people that you were believing in. Sometimes you'll be, okay, this is the CEO I want to meet. You meet him, but that's not it. And then you meet someone else
you didn't expect, and this is the one.
And this is the person that you actually needed. So that's why I say never disregard anyone. For me, that's the first rule of the network. If you want to have a real network, don't think because most of the time, the people that you don't think are the target, they are the one that you need.
Now, that's a rich piece of advice. Tell me about your this passion for women's empowerment. What is it you're doing in this area, and why is it so dear to you?
I would say today I'm committing a few initiatives. One of them is Women in Africa. So we're supporting, funding, and mentoring women all across the continent. For me, that's quite fair and quite obvious for me that we need to do whatever we can for women.
Okay. So now I often see you dressed up in a suit, formal. When you are not looking formal and serious, what do you do? What other things get you going apart from business and,
you could see me at the beach, and maybe I will still be dressed up in a suit. More seriously, meeting people, that's a thing. I like interacting with people. I like debate. I like for me, a good evening is like good people, nice food, good wine, and some music. It's great as well. So I really like to spend time with people. That's, I would say, I like to travel. I travel a lot, maybe more for business, but I like to travel to discover countries, to discover the people. Poetry, that's I will say my call to soul.
Do you write yourself?
I write a lot.
Okay.
I write a lot. I've written a few hundred poems.
Yeah.
So I write a lot. Yeah, poetry is for me is if I could have lived out of it, I would probably be a poet.
Okay. So tell me, I want to kind of, as we wrap up, I'd like to, I've heard a lot about, in fact, that's what, when I see you, I see somebody who is good with people. And that's why I was asking you about how you connect with people, the networking, and you've really talked about, getting to know people and respect for people. You've spoken about why you do what you do in the area of women's empowerment. I'd like to kind of end by looking at what other values you have that will help us to know you even more, and to also kind of understand the kind of leader you are.
2 values, or maybe 3. The first is, maybe it's surprising coming from me, but humility.
Okay.
Humility, which is coming from humus, so the relationship to the land, to what is meaningful. To be humble for me, it's to understand that you can be a king today and no one tomorrow. You can be healthy today and sick tomorrow. You can be wealthy today and poor tomorrow. When you have truly realized that, not just out of philosophy, because you have seen people dying, losing everything. When you truly realize that, I think it changed the way you see the world. The second one, which gets along with humility in my way, it's generosity.
Okay.
That's for me the most important quality a human being can have. And it will be a bit tough. I cannot get along with people that are not generous. There are something that will never connect. Because generosity, I speak of real generosity. It's not just money. The time you spend with people, the love you give to people, the affection you give to people. This is generosity.
So you see, I've managed to get out another, let's say, a trait or things that you do that help you to nurture those relationships. It's generosity. You mentioned it. It's generosity of time. When somebody will make time for you, that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to someone. Like you said, it's not just money, and people will appreciate that. You never know when somebody's in need. A little favor, just being there to listen, or just, being there. You came to me today for this conversation, and I'm so grateful. You were here on a short trip, and I asked you, would you come? And those things are manifest and show why you're able to form those bonds and those connections.
This is so important.
Yes.
People don't realize it, but when someone asks me to see me, I always find time at some point. It might not be next week, it might be in a few weeks or months, because maybe I'm not there, but I always find time. It's the most precious value. I mean, everyone says that, but when you have seen or crossed by death, you truly realize time. It's the only thing that at the moment you and me were speaking, in a way or another, we are this time will never recover it. It will never come again. It's a few minutes that we'll lose forever. This is how life is. Money, you can always get it back. I can lose 1 million today, get it back tomorrow. That's something you can have. But time, you will never get it back. So when you offer your time to people, this means a lot. And I think that's very important. The last value, it's freedom. For me, it's linked to the principle of my dad, which we engrave in his grave because he passed away last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He always used to say to us, my children, everything can be lost, but honor and dignity. And this is the true purpose of my life. There are things I will never do. And this is linked to freedom. Because freedom is not just do whatever you want. Of course, that's that part, but it's to be proud of yourself. For me, freedom is also to empower the others. Because if you're free, then it means your world, your ecosystem needs to be free as well. And also means that there are some things you won't do because you want to be happy to say whatever you want to say. You want to be able to act as you want to act, and not because you have done some, let's say, some darknesses, then you cannot say anything because you're tight in a way. So for me, freedom that's something that is really dear to my heart. To always be free, at least we're never fully free, but at least your soul needs to be free. And
Amen. Pascal, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Tucci, for honoring me with your time. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you for everything.